Okay, let's dive right in. We hear all this talk about national economic uncertainty, but there's one region that seems to be playing by a whole different set of rules: Columbus, Ohio. So today, we're going to unpack the data and try to figure out if this Midwestern city is really the national anomaly it appears to be.
So, just how different is the story? All right, let's just start with a number, and it's a big one: 425%. That's the progress Columbus has made on its 10-year goal for capital investment. The plan was to hit $10 billion in a decade. Instead, they've pulled in over $42 billion in less than 5 years. I mean, that's a staggering figure that just screams an incredible surge in business investment.
And all that money, well, it turns into jobs. Between 2021 and 2025, we're talking about almost 29,000 new jobs created in the region. Now, here's what's really important. We're not talking about just any jobs. The average salary is over $81,000. So this isn't just growth, it's high-wage, high-impact growth that really changes lives.
And it's a simple rule, right? Where good jobs go, people are sure to follow. This just illustrates that perfectly. Get this. A staggering 95% of Ohio's entire population growth over the last decade happened right here in the Columbus region. 6 of the state's fastest-growing counties are right there, with some of them just exploding by over 30%. And this isn't a boom that's built on just one thing, waiting to collapse. The whole economic pipeline is incredibly diverse. Yeah, manufacturing is leading the charge at 63% thanks to some huge new projects. But look at this. There's also a really strong base in corporate headquarters, office space, and logistics. That kind of diversity, that's the sign of a healthy, resilient economy. Okay, so it's pretty clear Columbus is on fire. But, and this is the big but, can a local hot streak like this really last when the national picture looks so, well, complicated? Let's zoom out and see how this all fits into America's current economic crossroads. The first major headwind we got to talk about is federal debt. Now this chart, this is fascinating. Back in the day, say the 60s and 70s, a dollar of new government debt could actually create several dollars of economic growth. A pretty good deal, right? But just look at that trend line. Today, it has totally flipped. Every new dollar of debt only gets you about 58 cents of GDP. That's a trend that really makes you question our long-term national growth.
And then, of course, there's inflation. Ugh, we all felt that painful peak back in 2022, right? And yeah, things have cooled off some, but the forecasts show inflation is probably going to stay above that 2% comfort zone for at least a couple more years. And that persistent pressure, it just squeezes everyone's budget and impacts everything from what you buy to what the Fed does next.
So you've got these national pressures of debt and inflation just swirling around. It raises a really critical question about where people feel like they can actually build a stable future. So where are Americans choosing to put down roots? This right here is basically the great American migration story told in 2 lists. On the left, you see the states people are leaving in droves. Think high-cost places like New Jersey, New York, and California. And on the right, you see a key reason people are moving: to be closer to family. And would you look at that, Ohio? People are searching for affordability and community, and that's a trend that directly benefits places just like Columbus. And all of this, people moving, economic pressures, it all comes to a head in one place: the housing market. So let's dig into the real estate reality. Okay, so at first glance, the U.S. national chart and the Columbus chart look pretty similar. Both saw that massive drop-off in sales in 2022 and 2023 when mortgage rates went wild. But, and this is key, look closer at the price line. While the national market saw prices kind of flatten out and even dip, the Columbus market just seems to be on this more resilient, steady, upward climb. This table really tells the story of how Columbus stacks up against other so-called boom towns. I mean, you look at cities like Austin and Phoenix, yeah, they had that explosive price growth, but that often comes with a ton of volatility and some pretty painful corrections. Columbus, by contrast, is just showing more consistent, positive price growth over that whole period. It's really a story of stability versus volatility. So this all leads to a really interesting paradox. If demand is so high, right, with all these people moving in and prices going up, where are all the houses for sale? Why is the inventory so darn tight? And here is your answer. It's called the lock-in effect. Think about this. Back in 2005, the average homeowner would stay in their house for about 6.5 years. By 2024, that number is almost 12 years.
Millions and millions of homeowners are just sitting on these amazing mortgages with 2, 3, or 4% interest rates. They simply can't afford to sell their house and buy a new one at today's higher rates. It keeps supply incredibly low.
So what we have is strong local demand hitting a wall of low national supply, all of it happening against this really complicated economic backdrop. So what can this tell us about the future? Well, let's look at how experts try to forecast what might be coming next. To look ahead, experts often use a model just like this one, the real estate market cycle. Now, the easiest way to think about it is like the 4 seasons of a market. It starts with recovery, that's spring. It moves into expansion as things get better, that's summer. Then you might hit hypersupply if too much gets built, that's autumn. And finally, recession, the winter, before the whole cycle starts over again. And here's what that cycle looks like visually. Phase 1, recovery, is down there at the bottom left. The market then moves up into Phase 2, expansion, which is that healthy growth period. That's a sweet spot. Phase 3, hypersupply, is at the top right. That's when the market gets overheated. And Phase 4, recession, is the correction on the bottom right. The goal, obviously, is to stay in that expansion phase for as long as possible. So, the million-dollar question, where is Columbus on this chart? Well, according to this forecast for the retail sector, it's sitting squarely in Phase 2, expansion. You can see it right there in the list alongside other strong markets like Austin and Asheville. This is a powerful indicator that despite all those national headwinds, the fundamentals on the ground remain very, very strong. And there might be some help coming from the national picture too. Fannie Mae is actually forecasting a slow but steady rebound in existing home sales all the way through 2027. A healthier national market could provide a nice tailwind, and that would only further support already robust local economies, just like Columbus.
It all leaves us with one final crucial question. The evidence shows Columbus is experiencing a remarkable, resilient boom, and it's bucking a lot of national trends. But as the larger economic landscape keeps shifting, the ultimate test will be whether any local boom, no matter how strong its foundation is truly built to last.